You do have the power to change. Isn't that great? In this video, you will learn about a superpower that you have that can transform your life. Your goals, your dreams, and living in your purpose will all come together as you learn about this hidden superpower and begin to utilize it. I am Kimberly. Welcome back to my channel, True Stature. If you are new here, a very special welcome. You definitely belong here. It is my goal with this channel to help women take their lives from ordinary status quo to extraordinary, vast, brilliant, one step at a time. Now, I am no spring chicken. I've lived a few years and I've raised 5 children. I've had an exciting, adventurous, up and down roller coaster of a life so far. And I'm happy to say that I've finally come to recognize that I have a superpower, one that we all have. Yet sometimes we hesitate to use it, even though it can be a tremendous force in our pursuit for happiness. Before I tell you what this power is, I would love to share with you a story I heard at a conference I went to recently. During the 1940s and 50s, there was a well-known prison warden. His name was Clinton Duffy, and he was well known because he went to great lengths to rehabilitate the prisoners in his prison. One day, a critic came to him and said, you should know, leopards don't change their spots. To which he replied, and you should know that I don't work with leopards. I work with men, and men change every day. The message of this story holds true for all of us. We have the power to change. Isn't that awesome news? We are co-creators in our own life, and we can change. In fact, you're not even the same person you were yesterday. Your actions and choices from yesterday molded you into a slightly different person today. So you may as well use that superpower in a positive direction. Have you ever felt stuck? Of course. Maybe you feel stuck right now. Here's the truth. You are not stuck. Change is a very broad term that could mean a million different things to a million different people. Maybe you want to live in a different way. Maybe you want to get in shape or stop watching TV so much. Or maybe you want to quit your dead-end job and find more meaningful work. If you're feeling discouraged about your life, or if you just want to start moving in a different direction, I am here to give you hope. If you know anything about my story, then you already know that all the negative things that got turned around in my life in the last few years happened because of the power to change. This is not to toot my own horn. If my life circumstances were still solely governed by my ego and my will, then I can assure you there would be no positive change. I had to take a really hard look at my life and look at all the areas either I had messed up or just weren't going in a positive direction. And with that came the realization that I needed to change. And I needed a lot of help to make that happen. And I learned along the way that a key component to all of our ability to use that superpower of change is humility. I think I'm not speaking out of turn when I say that humankind can be pretty prideful sometimes. After all, look at how awesome we are. We've got all our ducks in a row. We work hard. We raise children. We make lasagna for the couple down the street. And maybe even we have a hot dinner on the table for our family as well. We can look at ourselves and say, I'm awesome. I've got all the answers. I know what I'm doing. Leave me alone. I got this. That is pride talking. And it's your ego. Change will only manifest itself in our lives when we're willing to see that we have areas, probably a lot of them, that we need help with. This acknowledgement will require humility. We must become humble enough to admit we don't have all the answers, humble enough to see where we could improve, and humble enough to want to change for the better. In my personal experience, which included a lot of painful lessons, nothing changed for the better until I was willing to admit that I was toast. I couldn't make my life work living the way I was. I needed to change, and eventually I got desperate enough to seek that change. You see, as long as you think you have all the answers, you won't have any power to make any change. So I would encourage you to recognize that proud ego. We all have it, and approach life with a bit more humility. Now, you're obviously seeking change, or you would not have clicked on this video. Maybe the thumbnail gave you hope that, yeah, you can change. So to really ignite the power of change in your own life, begin by asking yourself, what needs to change in my life? What do I do that makes me feel unhappy? And are the choices that I'm making affecting other people's happiness? Where do I fall short, and what could I do differently to have a better outcome in my life? This list of questions could go on. Only you know your heart, and only you know what kinds of questions you can ask that will help you understand where you need to change. So I'm challenging you to dig deep enough to ask the hard questions. I know that this process seems strenuous to deal with initially, but they will be the questions that empower you later on to live your life in a state of growth and positive change. We make choices every day from our own free will. Because of this will, listen carefully, we have the agency to choose change and the creative power to implement change. We have the capacity to analyze how we're doing and make corrections. Maybe you're saying, I'm too set in my ways. I've been like this so long. I'm way too old to make any changes now. I've lived my whole life like this. I'm good enough. Why make any extra effort? You are amazing. You are great. And you better believe you are absolutely valuable just as you are right now. All the more reason to become better. We're supposed to keep growing and progressing. This life is about gaining knowledge, becoming more empowered, and coming to know our place in a vast universe. There's always room for progression, and that requires change. Maybe on the other hand, you're frustrated and you're thinking, there is so much I need to change. And maybe like me, this idea of change makes you feel a little overwhelmed. I understand that feeling. I felt overwhelmed when I saw the drastic changes that were needed in my life. And I still deal with that sometimes. But here's what I found out. I learned that I could trust my emotions and let my heart be my guide. What does that mean? You see, it was the painful emotions that I felt in my life that showed me where to begin. And it's the same for you. Follow your pain, and you will see what needs changing. And number 2, the most important thing I found out was this. I wasn't alone in the process. God took me through the process of change, and it happened step by step and layer by layer. If I had tried to do it on my own, I would have felt overwhelmed. But instead, because of a wiser, kinder, more gracious force at work, there was no immediate rush. No stress. I stayed in certain places longer if I needed to. Like I said, together we tackled change, one step at a time and one layer at a time. You can call it the universe, your intuition, a higher power, whatever you want to call it is fine. For me, it was God. And when I admitted that I needed help to change, that power that I longed for stepped in and got to work. I was shown how to focus on the future and how to build a new life. And that process continues for me from day to day. Socrates said this: the secret to change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And that is what I was led to do. Rather than dwelling on yesterday and fighting with that, I was shown how to build a new life. So you need to leave here today understanding this. You have the agency to choose change, and you have the creative power to implement that change. It will take humility. You've got to humble yourself to see where the change needs to happen. And listen to your emotions and follow the pain to see what really needs changing in your life. And then rely on God or the universe or a power at least bigger than yourself. Listen, if you've been going this way so long and nothing's changing, isn't that the definition of insanity? To keep doing something expecting different results. Try something different instead. Rely on something bigger than you and see what happens. You will then find that you are, in fact, using that superpower of change that you have, and that is leading you towards your best life. You do have the power to change. Isn't that great? Thank you for joining today and for watching all the way through. You really do have superpowers. If you were inspired to seek change in your life, then give this video a like. And be sure to subscribe in the link below to become a member of the True Stature community. We are a group of women taking our lives from ordinary and status quo to extraordinary and brilliant and vast and bold and confident and all the good stuff. And we need women like you. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. If you like this video, I highly recommend watching one of these next.